All right, guys. So we're going to start with section one, simple cases, right? So let's take a look at the app here. So we have two numeric inputs at the top, right? And then the slider input at the bottom. So this example shows that we can update this slider input using the numeric inputs at the top. All right. So it's very simple. Let's take a look at the code on the left. So again, we have two numeric inputs, one for minimum, another for maximum. And then slider input is the one that's being updated here, right? So in the server function, you can see that observe event and update slider input. So update slider input function has two arguments, right? So there's input ID. So that input ID matches the slider input function that's being updated, right? And minimum value is the one that's being updated. And that minimum value takes this minimum value that's provided by the user by this numeric input, right? So input $min, right? And this update slider input function is not executed until this event, and the event is the min, right? So until the user selects this min value, this update slider input function is not executed. The same with the maximum value, right? So once the user selects maximum value, then this update slider input function is executed, right? And again, it has two arguments, input ID n. So this refers to the slider input function that's being updated, right? Um, and the maximum value that it takes is the maximum value that the user selects in the numeric input function, right? So let's do this in our studio. Okay, so let me zoom in for you guys. And let's create chapter 9. So 09, chapter, this is chapter 10. Okay, and let me refresh, right? And then here, let's create Shiny web app, and application name will be code along 10. No, it's code along 9 in chapter 10. And browse, and it will be chapter 9 folder, and open, create, right? So this app file is created in this code along 9 folder, right? Okay, so let's name this app R file, and that will be chapter 10, section 1, and let's name it 0, right? And I'm going to select all, delete, Shiny app for the boiler code here, boilerplate code. And so we have two numeric input function and slider input function. All right, so numeric input, and then there's input ID, label, value. Those are the three mandatory arguments because there's no default value assigned to them, right? So input ID min, let's label it what? Minimum, minimum. And initial value is 0. And another numeric input and max, and then maximum for the label, and initial value is 0. No? What's the initial value? 3. All right, 3. And then there's a slider input. So slider input, input ID, label, minimum, maximum value. There are 5 mandatory arguments. Again, because they have no default value assigned to them. Okay? So input ID will be what? N. And label N. And minimum, so minimum will be 0. Maximum is 3. And initial value is what? 1. All right. So if we run this, all right, so we would have these inputs, but it doesn't do anything because we need to fill this server function. So again, the server function. So if we were to do the pairing, um, the function that we need to update this slider input is update what is it, slider input function, right? Slider input. And again, there are two argument. One is we need a way to refer to the function that we want to revise or update, right? So this will be input ID. Input ID is n, and what is we want to update minimum value. So here we want to say minimum, and that new minimum value will come from min, right? The numeric input ID min, right? So if we were to do this without this observe event function, right? So let's run this. So there's error. Um, in input $min can access reactive value min outside of reactive consumer. All right. So update slider input function cannot be used without observe event. All right. So yeah. So it gives us just some hint to the error message here. So we are going to cut this and observe event. And again, the event is event expression and handler expression. We already have handler expression. We need event expression, and that is um, hold off execution until the user selects minimum value, right? And then we put this in handler expression. We put that in curly bracket. There you go. And let's run this. Right. So let's close and then run. Right. So here, if we were to change the minimum, right? So the minimum value in the slider input updates, right? But if we change maximum value, there's no change because we need to add that here, right? So we can copy this, right? Uh, All right. So I want to line this up. All right. So the event here is maximum instead of minimum, and the value that updates is maximum as well, right? So let's close this and run app again. So now if we change minimum value, that doesn't make sense, right? Minimum should be smaller than, all right, so let's go smaller number, right? So it updates. Let's do this again. Uh, the maximum has changed too. So yeah, these are initial minimum and maximum, 0 and 3. So if we were to change minimum value, it updates here. Maximum value updates here as well, right? So that was a simple example of um, updating inputs. All right. So I'll see you in the next video for other examples of updating inputs. Take care.